Cool.
Hey everyone, welcome to Let's Get Candid. My name is Kim Greco and I have a very special guest. We've been waiting a long time for her to come on. This is Julie. Julie is an award-winning director, choreographer, and educator. She had an extensive performing career for over 12 years in New York City, most notably dancing as a Radio City Rockette for 6 seasons. She is now based in Toronto and travels extensively as a freelance director and choreographer. Julie has worked for most of the major theater companies across the US and Canada. Favorite creative team credits include Newsies, On the Town, Crazy for You, We Will Rock You, Cabaret, Hairspray, Billy Elliot, Once, Footloose, Grease, Hair, and The Rocky Horror Show. Julie occasionally choreographs for film and television. She most recently worked with Idina Menzel on the Beaches movie remake, and she's currently working on a Lifetime Christmas movie. Julie also loves to teach and has taught or been on faculty at AMDA and New York City, Sheridan College, Nazareth College, Randolph Academy, you're a busy girl, Capilano University, and Broadway Dance Center. Find out more about Julie at julietomaino.com. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
Oh my goodness, I'm exhausted. How do you do all this?
I don't do it all at the same time. Like, yeah, my career has spanned like over 20 years at this point. So yeah.
Well, you've been busy, so you need a rest. I do. Yeah. Just kidding.
I'm getting one right now.
Yes, you are. Well, welcome and thank you so much. I've been really excited. And we talked quite a while ago as a pre-interview. And you've been very busy, so I'm just so happy to have you. And before we go on, I just want to say congratulations on being nominated for a Dora Award.
Yay, thank you.
How exciting is this? This is for your Adventures of Pinocchio. You choreographed it for Young People's Theater. And so everybody knows the Dora Award will be presented, I guess the show will be on the 29th of June, is that right?
Yep.
At 7:30 p.m. on YouTube. Yeah. Yep. And so
there's a Dora Award channel.
It's Dora Award. Okay, we'll have Dora Award. Yeah, we'll have to look that up and put that in a link in there for sure.
Cool.
So you and your husband will be zooming in. Is that what happened?
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's all virtual. And actually, YPT has organized a watch party for all of the nominees from YPT. So we're all going to be on Zoom together, and one of the Zoom squares is going to have the live broadcast of YouTube. And me and my husband are going to watch it together.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, how exciting for you. How pumped are you right now?
I'm excited, and like I'm also like I'm just grateful to have like my work recognized, on that level.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, word on the street is you're quite talented, and you do some pretty wonderful work, as well as you're very humble and kind, which goes a very long way in this industry. So I feel so fortunate because I feel like I get to interview some really wonderful people, but most importantly, there's a common thread about being kind and humble, just being kind to your especially in this industry. Well, in this industry, because you never know what your paths will always cross again. But just being good and humble and be thankful for what you have, right?
Yeah, and like I have found that in the span of 20 plus years that like people come back into your life, and when the first time they were your student and now they're a producer of something, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I was not rude to that person, or something,
Yeah, I can't see you being rude to anyone, my dear. Anyways, so
not rude to anybody. I'm just fixing my light.
Of course, absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about let's start with how did you start dancing? When did you start dancing? How old were you? Let's talk about that a little bit, and then we want to get to your experience, of course, as a Rockette, and so many more things. So
my mom owns a dance studio, so like as soon as I was able to walk, just after 1, I think, I had tap shoes on my feet, and I was in tap class at 1.5 in a costume and performing on stage at 2, and I went from there. Like I started with tap, and then slowly progressed into ballet and jazz and all of the rest.
Nice. Yeah. And your favorite dance genre?
Oh my goodness. Like at the beginning, it was definitely tap, and I did not like ballet. And then at 13, I realized like my mom and I realized if I wanted to do this professionally, I was going to have to take much more ballet than I was taking. I was doing once a week class,
Right.
and so we found a ballet studio where I went to half day program, and I did ballet all afternoon every single day, and
Mhm.
I danced at my mom's studio in the evenings, and I really started to like ballet, like the discipline, that like I
Mhm.
was getting better, and I sort of, and now I think taking ballet class is my favorite. Is my favorite,
Mhm.
and but in the process of getting better and improving and all of that, like in my early 20s and when I moved to New York, I really, really like connected to theater jazz. And I think my favorite style is actually theater jazz.
Very nice, very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you, for those that are listening and dancers, most dance studios, not all, most don't teach a theater jazz. So maybe you can
Yeah.
explain what that is. What is theater
It's
jazz?
the yeah, it's ever changing because Broadway is ever changing and like the dance world is ever changing. But in the days when I was taking it in New York, which is in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a lot of Fosse, a lot of Jerome Robbins inspired choreography, and like Andy Blankenbuehler, who choreographed Hamilton and in the Heights, was just coming
Mhm.
up in the ranks. Josh Bergasse was just coming up in the ranks, and they taught like classes uh, every week at Broadway Dance Center. So like those kinds of that kind of style, it's basically jazz technique infused with storytelling and a sort of gutsy style, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so the ballet training, it's interesting because uh, I, I started at a dance school in my hometown, a smaller hometown, and the ballet training was pretty good. But I moved to another studio that basically just did ballet, and I thought I was so good. I was the worst student. Had to like retrain everything. I felt like I needed to, and ballet was hard for me. It was really hard. Anyways, not until I went to like ballet jazz until I like absolutely fall
Ah,
in love with classical ballet. And
yep.
I am not built like a ballerina at all. And if anyone had said that I would be teaching classical ballet pretty much full time, I'd be like, there's no way,
Yeah.
no way, but it's interesting to see because I just talked to Stephen Finley as well, and he said
Yeah.
the same thing. He wanted to take his ballet to get a strong ballet base. He ended up in a ballet company, and that story seems to be very similar, so dancers out there that don't like ballet, you can love it. See?
Yeah, like I
Yeah.
just like I really got into it after like I think it was the I think it was the repetitiveness of the exercises, and like I just sort of felt stronger like every time I took a class and every time I went to the bar and did like plies and all of that, and I just felt stronger and I was improving. I saw improvements, so I was, and like my pirouettes were getting better, my développés were getting better, all of those things
Yes.
were improving.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the only way to train,
No,
but
of
I do
course.
think it is
Yeah.
a one way to train that helped me.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a strong foundation for most dance genres. It can kind of grow
Yeah.
from there, absolutely grow from there, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. Okay, so your mom is a dance studio owner and a dance
Yep.
teacher. And at some point she said, Julie,
Yep.
what'd she say?
So yeah, it's hard to be the daughter of a dance
Yeah.
studio owner, and I think every single studio owner's daughter or son says the same thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a conflict of interest. Like anything that my mom decided, um, I took personally if she didn't pick me for something,
Of course,
and
yeah.
or the parents would say, oh, you only picked her because she's your daughter. If she did pick me, so I constantly felt that battle and like that sort of cry for attention when I was taking
Mm.
class with my mom. I was supposed to be a student, but I called her mom, and I was just like, it's so like it's so complicated, and that relationship is tricky in the studio. And so I think she realized, and I didn't realize at the time, that it would be good for me to go to another studio.
Mm-hmm.
So she actually encouraged me, and also my ballet teacher at Dance Express, my mom's studio, my ballet teacher there, she was a former ballerina at the New York City Ballet or ABT. I don't remember which one, but she was like, Julie needs more ballet training. Like this once a week dance studio is not enough for her. So she encouraged my mom to find a studio, and a specifically ballet based studio.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so yeah, and she drove me across town like for years, and like
Amazing.
5 days a week. It was just like insane. I think back and I'm like, oh my goodness, my mom like dedicated so much, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So many parents do, I
Yeah,
think for their
yeah.
children.
And you don't
Yeah.
like as a student, as a young person, like you
Yeah.
don't realize like what they're doing for you until way later. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't until I moved to New York that I even realized I'm from Vancouver, that I even realized Vancouver was a beautiful place. Like I just took it for granted because that was
Yeah.
where I grew up. But like
Exactly.
once I moved to New York and I came back, I was like, "Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful here. The mountains and the trees." And
Absolutely.
and also like once I moved to New York and I had to fend for myself, I realized how much like my mom had done for me, you know, and my
Mhm.
parents
Yeah,
actually, you know.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so many parents do so much for their children. It doesn't have to be for dance necessarily, but
Oh yeah,
just in
yeah,
general. And you take it for granted, I think, until you're a little bit older and you look back and go, wow, they really put a
yeah,
lot of time. That's a good thing, but
yeah.
sometimes you don't realize it at the time. All right. So tell us a story about how you ended up in New York and a little bit of a journey.
Okay. Um, so yeah, so I took once I graduated high school, I didn't know what I was going to do because I
Mhm.
didn't want to go to university because I really struggled with academics.
Mhm.
Not that I was not intelligent, I just did not care about social studies, about biology. I didn't care about anything. So I got through high school and I got through my academic classes, but I didn't have the grades to like, and I didn't really care about going to university and studying anything except I knew I loved dance, and at that point, at 16, I discovered musical theater, and before that, like I realized in my ballet training that I didn't have the facility to be a ballet dancer, professional ballet dancer.
Mhm.
I'm glad I got the training, and I'm glad I did all of those years of disciplined ballet training, but it wasn't gonna give me a future.
Right.
um, so I really got into musical theater. I was doing community theater shows when I was 16. So and then it, so also we didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have Google. We didn't have
That's
any of
right.
those things. So
Yeah.
I actually I don't know how I found out about the school. I don't know how. I think I just had a book, like a book of American schools, and I wrote to every single one and like got their information packet. So I got
Amazing.
OCU, which is Oklahoma City University. It has a really good musical theater program. NYU has a really good musical theater program. AMDA had a really good musical theater program. Like all of these schools in the States, and Sheridan College and Randolph
Of
College
course.
or
Okay.
Randolph Academy at the
Mhm.
time. And I took a gap year because I didn't, as I was graduating high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I was like, I love musical theater. I don't know if there's a career in it, and I don't know if I can make money doing it. Um, but but there was like I loved it, so I took that gap year and I just danced a lot at Harbor Dance Center in Vancouver, which is an open dance studio, drop-in dance studio.
Mhm.
And I did a lot of musicals. Like I like did gigs, like did a little, like I was a backup dancer for Tina Turner, impersonator, like all these little gigs.
Yeah.
And I was a can dancer in the Yukon, like all of these things.
So cool.
And yeah, it
Yeah.
was fun. Like I
It's
was
fun.
just growing up and learning and
Yeah.
becoming an adult, a young adult. And 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 then like so I'm jumping back to the writing all these schools and gathering information, and like as I was gathering information about the universities like OCU and
Mhm.
NYU, I realized those schools I would have to write SATs for. So I was like,
Okay.
nope, for sure, I'm not doing that. And
Right.
I get a degree out of it, but I didn't have any I didn't have any motivation to
Right.
study
Mhm.
academics, and at the time, and I didn't really have a desire to take anything except for practical classes. So AMDA was the perfect school for me because it was only practical. Like there was like film lab and sight singing and things like that, but um, it wasn't academic based. It was practical based. So, so I applied and got in, and then yeah, I moved to New York in October of 1997,
Mhm.
and I moved by myself. Like my mom was just like, "Good luck, have fun," and I was
That's
like,
what I want to talk about.
"Yeah," I was not scared at all. I was
I
like,
can't believe
"Bye,
it.
see you later."
And how old were
Um,
you again?
I was 19,
Oh my
and I was
gosh.
just like, I was bursting at the seams to get out of Vancouver. Like I was just like,
Amazing.
I didn't know why. I didn't like,
Right.
I realized like ever since I was 16, I was just like, I'm moving to New York. I'm living in New York. I hadn't been to New York. I had a puzzle of New York that
Oh
I
my
put
gosh.
together,
That's
but like
amazing.
nothing. I didn't
You
know
put
anything.
you put it out there in the universe for sure.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Good for you.
anyways, so like, yeah. So my mom, um, was actually, she was pretty good at at like, bye, see you, like, good luck. But she was also like, and then she instilled me with so much fear. She was like, okay, when you get off the plane, put your backpack under your jacket,
Yeah.
and don't talk to anybody, like get a cab, a yellow cab, like, because I had no idea. I had never like been to New York before. And so there I was, getting off the plane with my
Amazing.
backpack under my jacket, like
Oh
looking like a
my
fool because
gosh.
nobody else was like that. Like I was just like scared, shaking. I'm
Of
moving to
course.
New York with five big suitcases. Like I packed every single thing in my life, like candles, my lava lamp, like everything, because like I didn't know better, I didn't, like, I
I
had
love it.
never, except for when I moved to the Yukon for 6 months to do the Cancan show. Right
Right.
before that, I
Mm-hmm.
had never been away from home. I'd never lived away from my house.
Right.
So like it was just like
It's a
the
big deal.
19-year-old, the
Yeah.
19-year-old
Yeah. It's a
sort
big
of
deal. It's a
experience.
big city, but the best story is the backpack under the jacket. It
Yeah.
just it just makes me giggle. I love it. And I bet you think about that with your mom and have a good giggle as well. All
Oh
right,
yeah,
so
yeah.
you're in New York. What's
Yeah.
that?
At this point, like we talk about that, I'm like, remember when you told me to put my backpack under my jacket? And she was like, I was kidding. And I'm like, no, I freaking did it.
I was kidding.
I
Thanks,
did
Mom.
that. I walked
Aw.
with my keys. I still walk with my keys between my fingers, like
You
all of that stuff,
do. Yeah,
you know?
I was taught that too. Put your keys as that. I
Yeah.
still do that. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Right,
that hasn't changed,
right.
but
That's
hopefully
funny.
one day. But anyways, yeah, yeah.
So you're in New York.
So yeah, I was in New York, and I went to school and I loved it. I really, really loved it. And like I was a Canadian, so I couldn't get a part-time job. And so I worked for the school because like I needed money.
Mhm.
And I worked for the school for like $5 an hour, but I worked a lot of hours, and I did like studio monitor and like bathroom, like I was a janitor for a while, and
Right.
all of these things, an usher at the theater, all of these things. But like the studio monitor was great because I would spend 5 hours at a studio, just being there to, what is it, being there when people are practicing their
Of course.
stuff.
Mhm.
But anytime the studio was free, I would just go in and practice,
Amazing.
so I had
Yeah.
so many hours of practicing, and I just loved it because I was like, I'm in New York City, I'm practicing my musical theater, and
Yeah.
it was super fun.
That's
Yeah.
super cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And how did you end up becoming a rockette? Let's
Oh
talk
my
about
God.
that. Yeah.
Um, Okay, so the short story is like years later. Like I did 2 years of school and I graduated, and then had a year working visa, and then I needed to get a sponsor because I'm Canadian.
Mhm.
And Sheila Barker, I was working with her a lot at Broadway Dance Center, and she sponsored me for my visa, for my work
Yes.
visa. And so I got my work visa, and um, and then I was auditioning all the time. Like I was working, I was doing musicals like all over the country, and I did a cruise ship at one point. like a lot of different gigs. And then in 2005, I had done a national tour right before, and and on the national tour, actually, former rock, or actually a current rockhead at the time, was on the tour, and she, all of us, it was crazy for you. All of us were showgirl types. So a couple of us were like, you need to teach us everything you know about the Radio City auditions so that we can become Rockettes, hopefully. And so we did that like every day, like before the show, um, on a day off, like we would go to the hotel gym and like practice our bevels, practice like choreography, and like learn the style, like the really precise, sharp
Of course,
style.
yeah.
And that year, actually, two of us actually became Rockettes, and Denise Caston is her name, the one that helped us. And I don't think she ever really took the credit that she deserved at that moment, because it was like, it was pretty cool that she did that for us,
Yes,
you know, and she was just doing it for fun,
yeah.
you know. So anyways, yeah, so like I went to the audition, and yeah, and I made it to the end of the 2-day audition, and then they measure us, and then a couple days later, I got a call. I was actually in Toronto for a friend's wedding, and I got a call in the morning. I was like, oh my goodness, I got it. I got the radio. And I hadn't told my mom, because at that point I was 27, and I had been like through the ups and downs of the industry, and like rejection and hopefulness and like the dreams. And some of them I achieved, and like some of them, like I was just like, okay, that's not going to happen. But so I learned through that like 20, or through that 7 years, to like, I didn't tell people about the auditions that I was going for. Especially, I did tell my dad when I went for the West Side Story audition at the La Scala Opera House in Italy, because he's from Italy. And like he called. I had just gone to the audition. I got one call back, and then I got cut. And he called my entire family, who still lives in Italy, and he was like, Julie's coming to La Scala. She's performing at the Opera House. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I didn't get the job. So I was just like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not telling anybody about potential auditions. I'm telling them when I get a job.
Good. That's
so
good.
I just, it's just crushing. And like, already it's crushing when you don't get when you don't book a gig. And like, now being on the other side of the table, I understand, like, it's not about being good or not. It's about like so many other things. But at the time, like, you just take it personally. You think you're no good. Like, there's so many emotions that you go through. And I just learned, for my mental health, it was better to just keep quiet and tell people about when I book jobs, you know? So anyways, so my mom had no idea, and I was like, I got the Radio City show, I'm a Rockette. And she was like, she was floored. She was like, you didn't even tell me you were auditioning for it, you know? She was really proud.
Of course. Good for you. What an exciting time for you, though. I mean, and you had a long run with the Rockettes.
Actually, like, in comparison to some girls, like some women were Rockettes before I was there, and they're still Rockettes now. So like, there's some women that do it for 20 years.
Is that right?
Wow. Yeah.
So what would be, do you have like a couple of highlights when you were a Rockette that you'd like to share?
Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton watching the show in like sort of 10 rows back. And everything in front of that was empty, and Secret Service was surrounding them. So it was like, it was two people, empty rows before that, two people, and then like 6 or 7 or 10 people in black suits behind them, and then audience back behind them. That was really cool. And I felt like I only performed for Hillary. Like, she was sitting up smiling the entire time, and I only looked at her like that the entire show.
Amazing. Did you get to meet them at all, or?
Oh, I don't think they came back. I no, I didn't meet them, but I don't know if they didn't come back, or if it was like the thing, sometimes that happens is 2 girls or 4 girls get picked to meet and take pictures with. So I was definitely not one of those for that one. And but I don't know if they came back actually.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
cool. Very
yeah,
cool. That is really spectacular.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Could you imagine and get to take a picture and get their autograph and you can just like put it in your office?
yeah, yeah.
So cool. Um, yeah, that would be really daunting to perform and knowing that they're sitting right there.
Yeah, there's been a couple people like
Yeah.
Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas were sitting in the second row, and I was just like, oh my, like they're right there. And
Yeah.
then Katie Holmes and her daughter Suri,
Oh my gosh.
and
Yeah.
they were sitting in the second row, and her daughter was sitting on her lap, standing,
Oh,
and it was
so
just like, there's a lot of those kinds of stories, you
that's
know?
so cool. I mean, well, the
Yeah.
Rockettes are world renowned. I mean, the
Oh
work
yeah.
that the dancers do is incredible. The precision work itself, the
Oh.
detail that goes in is
Yeah,
maddening.
like, and
Yeah.
I really like, I didn't know what to expect at the beginning. Like, I sort of knew, but like, you
Yeah.
don't really know until you start rehearsal how it is. Because, like, yes, there's the detail of the choreography, but there's also like a grid on the floor. It's blue line, red line, red, green line, blah, 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 blue dot, red dot, green dot, like all of that is your position on stage. And then there's numbers, like there's like, you're standing on 4 blue dot, you're standing on 8
Oh my goodness,
green
I didn't
dot.
know that. That I
So
didn't know
like
that.
it's all math in your head. But once you like in the first year, it's like a mind, I don't know, it's crazy. It blows
Mhm.
your mind because it's like I'm thinking about the choreography, I'm thinking about where I am in space, and I'm having to think about the number and what my depth is. Like it's a lot. It's overwhelming
Yeah.
the first year, but then once you learn what the gig is and how
Yeah.
to do it, it gets a little bit easier.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't even imagine. I didn't actually know about that. That's pretty neat.
Oh yeah.
That's how they create all those beautiful formations,
Oh
obviously,
yeah.
and the precision in the spacing and the
Yeah,
body
exactly.
directions and lines. Yeah. I mean, it just looks so effortless, but it certainly it's a lot of work.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
not. Like,
Yeah.
actually, that's my one complaint, is that it, like, they make it look too easy. Because like some people come see the show and they're like, the Rockets are like, they're not doing anything hard, and I'm just like, oh my God,
Oh
it's
yeah.
so hard. It's so hard. Like your muscles are ripped by the end of the season because you're
Yeah.
just dancing so hard and so clean and so
You
precisely.
can, you've
And
got to
like,
be on all the time. I mean, not that you wouldn't anyway as a performer, but the fact that you have all that positioning, there's no
yeah. And
room for error, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And the pressure is on to be perfect because like that's what the job is. Like the
Yes.
precision
Yeah.
of the entire line of dancers are doing everything at the same time in the exact same way is what the job is. So
Yes.
you can't really make a mistake, you
No,
know? You know?
that's pressure in itself.
So
And
like
I think,
that it's a ton
yeah,
of pressure.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you're not a I mean, I'm assuming if as a layman, like person watching, they would say, oh, it just looks really easy. But I think I mean, a dancer coming to watch it, they would appreciate
Oh yeah.
the work. I mean, I think so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think dancers
Yeah,
understand. I
I
think
think so.
dancers understand.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Do you have any funny moments from being a Rockette?
Um, there's a lot of backstage antics because like
Yeah.
on 4 show days, like you're sort of feel like a robot a little bit, because you do a show and then you have an hour break, and then you do another show and then you have an hour break, and then you do another show, you have an hour break, and then you do another show.
Oh my
So like,
gosh.
and I've done 5 show days as well, like not many, but some 5 show days, it's crazy.
Of
Like,
course.
and you sort of like, the dressing rooms are so fun, and um you feel like sisters, and so like there's tons of stuff that's funny backstage, but it's all inside jokes. Like we
Right.
do skits for each other and all of those things, and
That's awesome.
and there's fashion shows, and all of like really fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think off the top of my head. Like I remember like my costume breaking on stage,
Oh my
and
gosh.
like I was so glad that like I went through this choreo in my mind, and I was like, okay, I'm not turning around at all, like, and that I'm just exit stage left, or like I didn't, like I had to finish the number, because you cannot walk off stage in the middle of a number, because they'll notice, the
Oh,
audience will notice.
they'll know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh my
so
goodness. But you made it through okay.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
stressful a little bit, but like
yeah.
not really funny. Yeah.
No, no, of course, absolutely. All right, so you decided to retire from the Rockettes, and
Yeah.
what happened after that?
Yeah, so like at when I was 32, I realized my body was sort of starting to hurt all of the time, and I was taking Advil before every show, and I was like, okay, this is not good. Um, and I do have a little, I have not ever had it confirmed, but the sports medicine doctor for the Rockettes was like, yeah, you have a little labral tear in your right
Mm,
hip. And so and now I know two girls who've already had hip replacements before 40. And I don't know for sure that was just from Radio City,
right.
but like I did not want to be one of those
Yes.
people that
Hmm.
had like, so I was just like, okay, my body is saying that I need to stop dancing full time.
Hmm.
Um, so I just, so actually I realized it before my last season, and I did my last season knowing that I was leaving, like this was it.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed every moment in the way that like when I buckled my shoe I was just like be conscious of like how wonderful this is, like where you're doing a quick change and somebody's plugging in your tap mics in your back, and like it's just so like just be appreciative of every moment. So I was glad I had that because yeah, because like I was able to fully enjoy my last season as opposed to like be bitter and like tired and sore and all of those things.
Right.
So then I didn't really know what I was going to do. I was actually going to move back to Vancouver because yeah, because I just was like I wanted to get onto the other side, but like doing that in New York City, like you're competing with the Broadway choreographers, so I was like I don't think this is where I do it. I think I
Hmm.
moved back to Canada because I feel like actually I thought I would always live in New York until the moment that my gut said, oh, now it's time to leave, like
Right. Hmm.
it's not, you're not, you don't want to live, you don't want to live in New York anymore. And it was so clear and so like sudden that I was just like, okay, that's telling me that I need to go. So I went back to Canada and Vancouver because I knew it and like I was from there, and I started reaching out to every choreographer in town,
Hmm.
like anything, any theater companies, anything that I could to just assist, learn, blah blah blah.
Right.
And I
Hmm.
took everything, like I said yes to everything, like random things. Hey, you want to choreograph this number? You want to choreograph this weird play for this high school? Yes, I definitely do. Like I just wanted to learn.
Of
I just
course.
wanted to like get the momentum going,
Hmm.
you know. So yeah, so I started transitioning in onto the other side in 2011, and 2014 is when I got my first musical theater musical. You know, I was
Nice.
choreographing Shrek at Theater in the Under the Stars,
Nice.
and yeah, it was a pretty sweet moment.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did a lot of things before that. Like I did a
Did.
TV
Yeah.
show and I did
Hmm.
like random things, but like that was big because I really wanted to choreograph musicals specifically. Yeah.
Specifically, you
Yeah.
know, every time you tell about your story, it's like, okay, you put it out there what you wanted to do, like your puzzle of New York, for instance. I'm going to be living in New York, and you end up in New York. You had what I would think is a great run in New York, and such great
Yeah.
experience, so much experience and training, and the I mean, just being in New York in the dance and performing arts scene is
Oh
spectacular on
yeah,
its own. But
I learned so much.
oh
Like
my
I look
gosh,
back on
yeah.
those years and I'm like,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, the training, even
Oh
the
yeah.
classes I took, yeah, yeah. It
So
was
much.
awesome.
And then of course you realize, okay, I'm done here and now I'm going to go back home and this is what I want to do. And I love that you just kind of reached out to anyone that is involved in musical theater, and he shows you could choreograph, and you did the smaller jobs to lead up to the big job. And that's really important because I think that we all need to be humble and take the work and do the job and put the time in,
Yeah.
so that we can have that big prize, whatever that is for you. And I find sometimes And we're all, well, I mean, I don't know if you're guilty of it, but you just want to jump. You want to get over here real quick without going through. And it's the going through that's the learning and the falling and the picking yourself up. And then when you finally get that prize, whatever it is, or that job or that gig, you know, you've really earned it, right? You've
Yeah.
really earned it. Yeah.
And I honestly feel like the universe gives you what you're ready for when you're ready
When
for
you're
it.
ready for it.
And
Yeah.
like I am guilty of wanting things to happen faster. Like even now, even still, like I always want things to happen faster than they happen. I'm very impatient in that way,
Yeah.
but I do realize I look back on everything that's happened and I'm like, nope, that was because it was preparing me for success in that moment
Yes.
or whatever. So I in the moment I'm a little bit impatient, but in retrospect always I'm just like, okay, it unfolded exactly the way it should have, you know.
Yes, exactly.
If
Oh,
only I
I
could still remember that. Like it's a it's a constant practice, and it's constantly learning and relearning. Like, okay, you just have to breathe and be patient in this moment, you know.
yes, yeah, that's difficult sometimes, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
especially at this moment, you
yeah.
know,
Oh,
because it's
yes,
so
yes.
unknown. Yeah,
So
yeah,
much unknown. Yeah, it's difficult to be. Let's all hope we can all just get back sooner. Health,
yeah,
be safe, but get back to.
yeah,
I don't like the word the new normal. I don't want that. I just want normal.
yeah,
I want it safely, but I want normal.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. So let's talk about choreography. As a choreographer, you're building a name for yourself. You're doing a great, I mean, again, I'm not kidding when I say the word on the street is you're extremely talented. So
Oh, cool. Thank
I've been
you.
doing some listening and some snooping. So
Oh, cool.
so you did Shrek, and then after that,
And then I did Crazy for You,
that was wonderful.
which I had performed in. And I knew like this was the show, like it's a choreographer's dream. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a show where you can really make a name for yourself. So I was like, okay, Julie, this is your opportunity. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't screw this up. Like the show is good. The craftsmanship of the script is really good. It's
Mm-hmm.
really funny. It's not dated, and there's big musical numbers with a lot of storytelling,
Yes.
and this is the one, like this is the one where you make a name for yourself in Vancouver. And so I put that pressure on myself before,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband felt the pressure because I cried to him a lot, and like through the process I was like, I don't know, like I just was, I'm a perfectionist in that way.
Yeah.
And so I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, but yeah, so actually I was really proud of the work, and I won a Jessie Award in Vancouver for that work.
Yay.
Yeah, yeah,
Congratulations.
so it
Yeah.
was really really good. And like it did exactly what I wanted it to do. Like it made a name for myself in Vancouver, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love
yeah.
that. I love it. And so would you say that you know, for the next 5 or 10 years, this is what you want to do? Just keep working as a choreographer for, especially in the
um
musical theater?
Yeah, like I've been directing. I
Okay.
started directing, like I directed a small thing in 2013, actually. And then I started directing 2017, 2018. I don't know. Um, yeah, so but I I directed Newsies last year at
Yes.
Theatre Under the Stars,
Yeah.
and that had a lot of critical success, and also like the cast. I loved the cast, and like it was just like it was a wonderful experience in every single way. So I love directing, and I think the only thing with directing is it's so much more work than just choreographing a show,
Mhm.
that you can't do like 9 in a year. Like you, like that would be crazy to
Right.
direct 9 shows a year or
Right.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So you really, like, I ideally would love to direct a couple shows a year and then
Right.
choreograph the rest,
The rest, yeah.
because
Would
like,
you, sorry, would you ever take on doing both choreographing and directing
oh
at the
yeah,
same?
like I say directing because I've never worked with another choreographer. Like I don't, I at some point I want to work with another choreographer, but like
Yeah.
right now I'm young, and I'm
Yeah.
like, so I am ambitious, and I think I can do both. So I direct and choreograph. Like I directed, choreographed Newsies, and I directed and choreographed Crazy for You at Sheridan College in the recently, and I directed and choreographed Hair. Um, So like,
It's a lot of
yes,
work. That's a
yeah,
lot of
it
work.
is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so like it's almost double the work because
Yeah.
in some ways it's easier because I, as a choreographer, I'm waiting to hear from the director to collaborate and to
Yes.
make decisions and all of that. And as a director choreographer, I'm just, okay, I can make the decision myself,
Yeah.
but like it is a ton more work, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I
So,
love the work. I
oh
love the work.
yeah.
It's
Oh, absolutely.
just
But
like
it's
you can't take
incredible.
on too much. Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible amount of work to do
Yeah.
both. But when you don't have to wait for the director, and sometimes the
Yeah.
director has a different, I mean, their vision is different than the choreographers. So you have to, I feel like as a choreographer, you have to mold a little bit toward what the director
Yeah,
wants
like
you
the
to do.
director, yeah, the director has the ultimate
You do.
vision,
Yeah, right.
and you have to like figure out a way to complement that vision
That
or
vision.
to contribute to that vision.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's very rewarding when you can do both.
Yeah,
Right?
it is.
Because you can talk, have a conversation with yourself. Okay, Julie, as a choreographer,
Yeah,
yeah, but as a director, I don't want you doing it this way. You
yeah,
have a
and like
conversation with yourself.
I always have an assistant, and I really like collaborating with the music director as well because
Oh,
I
nice.
don't
Yeah.
want to make all of the decision, and I can make all of the decisions, but I want input and I
Right. Of
want
course.
collaboration,
It's important.
and
Yeah.
like I think that makes a better product.
Mm.
And yeah, and I really want outside eyes to be like, why did you do that? Challenging me, like not like just to challenge me for the sake of challenging, but like actually
Right.
to ask the question, why are you
Why?
doing that way? Is that the easiest way, or is that the best way to tell that part of the story?
Right.
So I really lean on my music director and my assistant a lot in the collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's important too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I would. Yeah. I think that's very important. All
Yeah.
right. So what's your next? I know. Well, you had
Oh
a
my
ton of
God, I
stuff.
had so
I
many
know.
things,
I know. But
but they're all canceled or postponed now. So like,
yeah.
who knows what's next? Actually, I'm teaching at Sheridan College in the fall.
Nice. Very nice.
And that I know for sure. Other
Good.
than that, and actually like, I'm doing a lot of digital things. So this weekend, actually Saturday night, um, June 20, where like I collaborated with a composer, and he wrote a song that I did choreography to, and I have 8 dancers in it. 2 from Vancouver, one was in Alberta, one was in Saskatchewan, a couple were in Ontario, and we did it all virtual, like Zoom
Wow.
rehearsals, and they videoed it and I edited it all together. So like that's premiering on
Incredible.
Saturday night.
Is
Yeah.
it? And can we all watch it?
Yeah, it's Canadian. It's called Canadian Movement,
Okay.
and I think it's if you search YouTube, it's the Canadian Movement channel. I don't know. I'll
Okay.
send you the link.
Please
Um,
do. Yes. How
yeah,
exciting. Yeah. I'll
yeah,
absolutely put that in. And with the interview, I'll put the link in there for sure. That's very
cool,
exciting. How was it
cool.
using dancers for different provinces? Was it fairly easy, or how did
Yeah,
it?
like I had done a couple of things before. So like I
Yeah.
had rehearsed a little project with 4 dancers, and one was in Vancouver, one was in London, England,
Yeah.
and 2 were in Ontario. And so I sort of learned how to communicate. Um, the best way for me to work this way is to video myself sort of doing the choreography
Right.
and explaining it, and
Right.
then sending that video beforehand, and
Right.
then getting together with them a day later on Zoom and answering all the details. And then we sort of run it a couple times, but like everybody's internet connection is different, so it doesn't look, they're not dancing all together.
Right.
So like
Yeah.
it's really hard to give notes, but I have been able to give notes. So it's different, and I look forward to the day that we get to go back into a rehearsal hall altogether, or a dance studio.
Yes.
But I just feel like I'm an artist, and I have to be creating during this time because
Yes.
I don't like, creating is breathing for me. So like I'm just figuring it out, like, and I'm building new skills, like I'm learning like all of the Zoom things, and I'm learning how to
Yeah.
video edit, and like I taught myself a new video editing program because I was just like, this is not good enough, like iMovie is not good enough. So
Yeah.
like I'm learning new
What
skills.
video? I'm going to ask you, what video editing program are you using?
I'm using DaVinci Resolve 16, which is a free video editing
Nice.
program that you can download. I think it's like Final Cut Pro. I
Right.
haven't used Adobe, which I've heard is really good.
Yeah.
But iMovie is just not enough at this
Right.
point for what I want to do.
Right.
So like I've been
Good.
doing that, and I'm sort of getting into it, and like it's creative, and like I'm working
Good.
on a friend's reel, and it's just like editing a video reel is like super creative, and so it's fulfilling, and
Good for
I'm
you.
just finding
Yeah.
ways to be creative in this moment, because I don't think I don't think I would be able to not be creative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's difficult. It's difficult for most people, but I feel like I can relate because when you've got that creativity in you, you've got to have it come out.
Oh yeah.
And you just can't keep suppressing it and pushing it down because it just starts to fester. You just need to get it out, you know, whatever it might be. And it's great that you're learning new tools or your new techniques and tools, and you're still being to be creative. So
yeah, like the first project I did was probably 3 weeks into this isolation or quarantine, back in like April, and like that was the first time that I felt alive since the quarantine started, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I'm missing in my life, you know.
Yes, good
like
for you.
so yeah
Good
so
for you.
yeah, and so since then I've been looking and seeking things out, and like just figuring out, like inventing new projects, and like my friend Kayla James like formed this Canadian movement thing, and I was just like, yes, I want to do that, you know?
Yes, I saw that. It was on Instagram. I think I saw
yeah.
That's really good. You know, please remember, give me all the links and I'll put them in the interview so people can kind of, you know, go look through. Thank you for that. You're so interesting to chat with. I think you have some, I don't know, you just have a really cool vibe, and I love that you just like take it on. I'm just going to take it on. I love that. Just jump in there and take it on, and you'll figure it out as you're going along. And I love it. Yeah. You've had a beautiful career, and it's not over yet. And I love that you're moving into directing and choreographing, and you light up when you talk about it. So I wish you much success, my dear. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your time. So I always like to ask our artists, you know, what would you recommend, or some advice you could give to some dancers that maybe want to go into musical theater, or anything that you've learned through your training, you know, something that would be a nice little nugget for them to take away from this interview.
I think nothing is wasted. Like everything has value in some way. So every experience, whether you win or you lose, it's not you win or you lose, you win or you learn. And like there's some sort of nugget of like value in whatever you do, in whatever experience you have. And like any kind of a training that, or any art that you can consume in any fashion, like books, like movies, shows, dance classes, like any other things, all can contribute to your voice as you grow as an artist and you grow up and become older. So I say consume as much as possible and train in as many facets as possible, and like watch that old school movie and like train in that old school jazz, even though it's not cool. Like take all the classes. Like I took flamenco in high school, in ballet school, and I was just like, it was really valuable back then, and it's really valuable now. Like it inspires my choreography in some way or another.
Interesting.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's great advice. I love it. Thank you. You're just a great human. I'm really happy we had this opportunity to interview today.
Thank you.
Yes, and we're going to look for the Dora Awards that's the 29th of June.
I will send you the link, the Dora Awards link and the Canadian movement link.
Good. So our fingers are crossed and our toes are crossed. We'll be celebrating, I'm sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you again for coming on, and I look forward to all of your links. I'll get them all up in the interview, okay?
Cool.
Have an amazing evening. Enjoy your warm summer evening. I hope you're going to go out for a walk or something.
Yes.
I hope so.
I'm loving this sun.
Yes, it is beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. And hopefully soon we can all get out and about, and you know what? I will come to Toronto and we'll go out for lunch.
Oh my goodness. Yes, let's do that.
I would love to.
On a patio.
On a patio. Yes, absolutely. Just walk in and have a drink a nice
Yeah.
tea or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Julie. Have an amazing evening. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye.